member of the Canadian national team program and a professional currently playing in Greece. She graduated from Glenlawn Collegiate, where she won a provincial title and was ranked as the #1 player in the province. She's played for the Manitoba Provincial Team for 3 years. She then went on to play at the University of Utah, where she graduated from the program as the first player in the school's history to record more than 1,500 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 200 blocks in their career. Additionally, she was ranked in the top 5 in Pac-12 history in shots blocked and top 15 in total rebounds. She was named to the PAC-12 All-Conference team in her sophomore, junior, and senior seasons. She has been part of the Canada basketball national team athlete pool since 2012, playing for the cadet national team and most recently at the 2019 Pan American Games in Peru. She's played professionally in Poland, the Czech Republic, Greece, and Mexico. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So you're calling in from Greece. Your first year playing there, right?
Second year in Greece.
Second year in Greece. Okay. So how's it been so far this year specifically?
It's been good. Yeah. So I was with a different club, actually still in Athens last season. Okay. And now I've switched, a different part of the city, different club. And I mean, we're doing well as a team right now. We're ranked second in the league, making our way through Euro Cup, regular season round as well. So nice. It's been, busy as usual, but it's been good.
For sure. So you said a different team in Athens or just in Greece generally?
Yeah, in Athens and in Greece. There's a lot of the teams actually in Greece are located in Athens, at least half of them. So it makes the travel a lot easier as well, which is really nice.
For sure. I bet you're not getting on crazy, super long bus rides or having to get on planes and stuff like that. So you said it's your second year. So what's you're not your first year there. You obviously played in the intro. I mentioned you played in a bunch of different countries, but how are you adapting to the Greek culture?
I love it. I mean, I love the lifestyle and the food, the weather, it's all, amazing. And the life outside of basketball is super important to me as well. Just having a good balance. And when I thrive, outside of basketball, it helps me be a better basketball player. So everyone's been super welcoming. I have nothing but good things to say about Greece.
Nice. So then I got to ask again, I've never been to Greece. I just see, people go and they take the vacation trips and stuff like that. Are you near any beaches? Can you get out and just hey, I'm going to go to the beach today?
Yeah. I mean, the beaches in Athens, according to all the locals and my teammates here, suck compared to the ones on the islands. But to me, It's still an amazing beach, which is about 30 minutes from where I live. So I just, go for a quick drive and I'm at the beach and I think it's amazing.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing. You grow up in it and you're oh, this is not that good. And I've heard, what are the islands like? I've heard they're insane. Some of those Greek islands.
There's so many islands. Yeah. Mykonos, Santorini,
yes,
Milos,
yes.
Yeah.
Have you been to any of them?
There's so many. I've been to a couple more, lesser known ones. I've been to Corfu, Lefkada. I've been to some other ones that are maybe an hour ferry ride away. Okay. There's 20 to 30 to choose from. And to me, they're all amazing. So those well-known ones are obviously, what everyone hears about, but there's so many places to see.
What's your favorite food? Greek food?
Greek food. Okay. I love me some spanakopita, it's like a phyllo, the pastry with the spinach and the cheese in it. Oh yeah. Amazing. But I also love tzatziki, anything with tzatziki, gyros, Greek salad. I love feta cheese. I could eat a brick of feta probably by itself. So
that's probably everywhere. It's feta is just you can always get some feta. Yeah, feta is amazing. Okay, enough about the food. We're not going down that path. It's going to be a Greek exploring Greece podcast. So I want to jump back into the basketball. So I always like to start if I have a history with someone or I know them or they've coached me or whatever. I always kind of start with a story. And I think I've told you this before, but we both graduated from Glenlawn. Glenlawn has a great basketball culture, Kornberger, and he's just been there forever. And even so much so that he would give me lessons. I'm with the men's team. He's coaching the women's team. And he would hey, come here. I want to show you something. Right. He's that guy. Right. And, but then later on, when I started doing stat trackers, we obviously statted some of your games. And to say that the stat lines were ridiculous would be an understatement. I read some of your stats at the NCAA level. Now we're talking about high school. They were pretty much, you were like the entire box score. And like, we keep in mind, we're keeping track of blocks, rebounds, steals, point, everything, offensive rebounds. Like, and so like yours just stuffing the stats all the time. Right. And I just remember that because I had just started the company, and you're sitting there and you're just like, rebound, like, and then someone missed, you get the rebound, it'd be like, and so it was just like this constant thing, but it was just be your name. Right. So anyways, that's my first memory of you, because, you know, you were obviously a force. But I want to take that and then say, well, what are some of your first memories of basketball? Like, who introduced you to the game? How did you get involved? You know, tell us about that.
Good question. Even you talking about high school, I'm like, that feels like forever ago. And I'm not even that old, but first memories of basketball. I mean, I started playing when I was in grade 7, but before that, you know, I was around the game. Like, both my older sisters played basketball, and my dad actually coached at like my elementary, junior high school. So by the time I was like 5 years old, I'd just be like in the gym with him when he'd be practicing with his like grade 8 or grade 9 boys. Yeah. So I wasn't playing basketball. I was wheeling around on a scooter and eating my snacks, but I was around the game. I know I was in the gym, you know, maybe I dribble a basketball every once in a while. Yeah. But yeah, my family just all really liked it. I used to watch, you know, March Madness with my dad on TV. And I feel like that's kind of like my first memories of basketball, when I was like, I want to do that. Like, so even before I started playing basketball in grade 7, I always knew it was something I was going to do. And even from the time I started, I had the goal of like, I want to play in the NCAA. Like, that's just something I want to do. Like, it seems cool. So yeah, I started
so you had that goal way back then. Like, do you remember how old you were? Like, was it in grade 7 or shortly after that you kind of had that set in your mind?
Yeah, like even before grade 7, like just as a kid, like watching basketball on TV, I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And obviously I didn't know it would be possible. And then as I, you know, got further into basketball in grade 9, then it came kind of more realistic for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about, like, shout out to what school you went to in grade 7? Where'd you play?
Samuel Burland.
There you
Samuel
go.
Burland School.
There we go.
Yeah.
Shout out.
St. Patel gal.
Yeah.
So I had great coaches even from the start. And obviously, like, Burland was the school that was just closest to my house. Glenlawn was also, you know, the school, like my feeder school into high school. And, you know, just thankful, you know, that Kornberger was there and could, you know, help me with so much along like my journey. And then I started playing club, obviously, and like in grade 7, started playing at school. And then I also started playing club, and I played junior bisons, which I found out that the junior bison girl program is no longer even a thing. I was like,
are you serious?
Okay.
Like,
yeah, they have a men's. I have no idea. I haven't held it for too long, but they have like the men's program. I know they still have like the junior bisons, like men's travel team and everything. But yeah, that was super big when I was, you know, a kid from grade 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. I only did junior bisons. And it helped me so much. You know, we just did so much skill work and so many practices. We didn't even play that many games. We just, you know, went down to the States a couple times a year, got our butts kicked, and then we come back home.
Yeah. Well, you should mention your dad. Obviously, you mentioned your sisters. You said you had some great coaches. So who were some of those early mentors? And maybe just, you know, talk about some of those lessons. You know, obviously you mentioned Kornberger as well. You know, you learn these things. Sometimes you don't even realize until much later. You're like, oh yeah, they did teach me this. So shout out to some of your those mentors early on, and maybe some of those lessons they taught you.
Yeah, I mean, my junior bison coaches, I had a few of them, but you know, like Michelle Sung is someone who, you know, was like shortly like finishing like her playing career. Same with like Sarah, and like they were people that I could look up to that, you know, had played at the university level. I didn't really know any other players that like were playing besides them. You know, I could see them in the gym, they could help me and stuff. And they had a lot of players throughout the junior bisons program that would help with the younger teams, which I think is super important for like young athletes to see. And I still remember like vividly, like just working on the fundamentals with junior bisons and having those just ingrained in me. And like, it wasn't about playing the games. It wasn't about playing a 20-game season and trying to win games. It was literally just about coming to practice and working on skill work, doing a 3-man weave until you couldn't get it wrong. I still remember learning the footwork to a layup. And that's something that will always stick for me. Like, and I was trying to, you know, like, okay, right, left, right. But then when you're on the other side, you got to do left, right, left. And I was like, inside, outside, inside. And I would just tell myself that over and over and over again as I dribbled to try to get like a stride layup down. And like, I'll never forget that.
So was this when you were doing like the junior bison stuff around that age?
Yeah. Like grade 7, like I was 5'11" in grade 7, but so raw, like, never like played any other kind of like little basketball teams or tournaments or anything when I was younger. I did soccer, I did ringette, I kind of did whatever I wanted. But junior bisons, I learned a lot of great skills. At Burland, I had a really great coach when I was in grade 8. She's actually my next door neighbor now to this day, Kyla. And Kyla, we went to the provincial finals when I was in grade 8, and I was like, it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah, that's big time back then. Like I think when you make it the provincial time final in the junior varsity provincial championships or whatever that's called, it's like a super big event. I don't know, did they do it at Tech Voc when you were doing it then? Do you remember?
I don't think it was at Tech Voc then.
Okay.
I feel like I would remember that gym because it's very
because it was massive.
Yeah, but I do remember we played Sergeant Park. That was always like,
yes, they're always there.
They're always there with the younger level. So yeah, we lost to Sergeant Park, and it was so upsetting to me, but it was kind of like my first big game, I guess, big experience where I was like, oh my God, like I've made it.
Yeah. So then you're playing club. Do you remember I don't know, maybe it was this moment we just talked about, but there was a moment when you're like, I really want to take this seriously, or had that already happened? Like once you're like playing serious club, you're like, oh, I'm taking this seriously now, or was there something that clicked at some point?
That's a good question. I think, there probably was a moment where it clicked a little bit more for me. I think in grade 7 and 8, I played, with some different teams and was doing well. And then when I played with them in grade 9, I kind of got moved up to like a more like competitive team. So I was playing with like Jenny Lynn, Montana, I was playing with Jamie Brown and like all these other players that I thought were so good at the time. And then I got to join that team, and I was like, oh, like, I guess I'm at that level, and like, it's going to be, more competitive. And like, I was having fun with my friends, like learning the skills, all of that. But like, this was like the first time I was like a little bit more serious, and I like noticed it.
Yeah, for sure. So you went on after that to go to Glenlawn. It was not a transfer. This is actually your feeder school. I know sometimes it's like people are transferring, but you were a same Mattel girl, Samuel Burland. So that's the school you go to, but you end up going to Glenlawn, which again, we talked about, Mr. Kornberger, a powerhouse in its own right throughout the years. I mean, like I said, I don't know how many years older than you, but like during my time there, like, I don't know how many they won, but they were there all the time. Right. And so a place of tradition. What do you remember about your first year? Again, did you play JV, or did you go right to varsity?
So I played like grade 9 on the grade 9 team at Glenlawn, and then I played 3 years of varsity.
Okay, so you went right up after that. Yeah. And so what do you remember about the jump from going from JV to like varsity? Was it easy? Like, what do you remember? I guess is just the general question. Like, what's first things that come to mind?
I mean, I remember Kornberger like even before, like even in grade 9. And obviously my sister was 2 years older than me, so I could be around it, watch her games. That definitely helped me like see the game and that sort of thing. But one memory I have of Kornberger is, it was the end of grade 9. I think, season was already over. Maybe I was in the gym shooting or something. And it was going to be my first time trying out for the provincial team. Okay. So I'm getting ready to try for provincial team, 15U tryouts. And Kornberger came up to me at school and was like, you should try out for the 17U team. I was like, what? I was like, I've never played provincial team before. I'm going to go to 15U tryouts, and you're telling me I should try out for the 17U team? Like, I'm in grade 9.
Yeah.
And so I went to tryouts, and I didn't know anybody. Like, I don't even know if anybody else on Glenlawn, maybe there's a couple of them that tried out for the 15U team or people I've played against. So I recognized some of the people in my category. I did my tryout, and then I stayed and I did the 17U tryout after it. And I didn't know not one person. And like, I was terrified. Like Tanya was a head coach. I was super intimidated. We're at the U of W doing this tryout. And so all weekend, I got a Sharpie number written on my leg or whatever, my arm, of what number you are. And at the end of practice, they're calling out what numbers are going to come back. Like, it was like, back then it was just like, this is your number. You hear your number, you're coming back. And so I went to all the tryouts, and Yeah, it was hard, but I ended up making the 17U team and I was like, what the heck? Like I was not expecting it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. But I think that's a shout out to like the first question I asked you about your mentors, because like, mentors are there to like, guide you and all this stuff, but sometimes they're there to push you because when you're young, you don't always know what you're capable of. And it needs someone to be like, no, like you can do this and you need to try to do it. Right. And then you're like, oh, really? I guess so. Right. And had he not been
Yeah.
there, or you had been somewhere else, or, maybe that conversation never happens. Maybe you play 15U and probably would have had a great time and it's all that, but he was there to kind of give you that nudge. I think that's just a super important shout out to those mentors, because that's kind of what they're there for,
Yeah, for sure. I definitely would have never tried out for that team if he wouldn't have said something. And at that point, I don't think I was good at basketball yet at all. He saw something in me. I was, in grade 9, and I was 6'5". So he was like, yeah, let's get this girl like
exactly.
Starting to develop. So even that first year on the team, I didn't play a lot, but like I learned so much playing with those like older posts and those older players. And they just kind of took me under their wing, and it set me up so much better for the next 2 years, and then to play varsity the next year as well and be more comfortable, more ready for that opportunity. So I don't think the jump was as difficult.
Exactly. Because you're playing against some of those same players you played with. You're playing against them, and so it's you're at that level, right? So you obviously went and you won a provincial championship. What do you remember about that championship?
I remember everything just coming together like at the right time, perfectly for us.
Yeah.
And at that point, we had played against Westwood maybe once or twice and lost to them. Okay. They're coming in, they were undefeated all season long. And, we had our ups and downs. Obviously we did well, like in our league. And so we ended up playing them in the semifinals and beating them in their unbeaten streak. And there was a lot going on, I think, throughout the whole season. And it was kind of like, the stars aligned. We had people step up at the right time. And that was kind of like the big matchup of that, of those provincials. And we ended up playing Oak Park in the finals. And we hadn't even played Oak Park a single time the whole season until the finals. So we're kind of like going in blind. But after winning that semifinal game, it was like, there's no way we're losing. Like, no one's going to stop us in this final game after we just, beat this team that was 30-0.
Yeah.
And so things, aligned well for us, and, maybe we got a little bit lucky, and sometimes, you can put in all the work, but you have to peak at the right time. And we were fortunate enough to have that happen for us and win.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I actually remember that because I'm quite close with Sarah and John, and we were around. I was helping John coach with Oak Park back then, and like that was huge. Like that was like a big time upset for sure. I mean, it wasn't upset just because of the nature of the season they were having. It's not that like they were completely unbeatable, but to that point they were, right? So it was super big. So you finish up. I mean, that was your grade 11 year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And then what did do you remember your grade 12 year? I mean, again, this is your grade 12 year. This is your last year. You're probably likely the most comfortable you've ever been. What do you remember just about the year generally? Obviously you guys didn't win the title that year, but you obviously knew at this point you're going to play college. What do you remember about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a great year. We had a ton of good players and a lot of just like athletes on our team. We had, like me as a basketball player, we had Laura McManus, who was the #1 volleyball player. We had soccer players, because that time Glenlawn had like that elite like soccer program. So we had soccer players on the team. We had hockey players. We had, like a couple other players that were competitive in basketball as well, but it was just like a bunch of athletes thrown together. And I think we did, a great job of coming together. We played Oak Park a couple times in the season, lost to them. And same thing in the finals. I think the finals was like the closest game we had, but like they were all a bunch of basketball players, like club players, skilled players, knowledgeable players about the game. And, we did what we could. And I think we did amazing. Like we brought like our group and made it work to the best of our abilities. And I remember being like super upset about like losing that final. And I was like, like, what does that say about me as a player? Like, I couldn't like put the team on my back or win us a championship. Like I'm supposed to be the best player in the province. We won last year. Like it's expected of me to do that again. Like I should have done it again. Like it's my fault. Like at the end of the day, like I was the one that needed to make it happen and I couldn't.
Yeah. You start playing that game. That mind game.
And I remember my dad said something to me. He was like, this may be the highlight of some people's basketball career, but it's not going to be the highlight of yours. It's not going to be the worst moment of yours. It's not going to be the highlight of yours. And that kind of helped me see the bigger picture. Like, winning a provincial championship was great when I was in grade 11, and losing in grade 12 wasn't awesome. But like, I don't even think about it now, like I already knew my basketball career was going to continue. There was going to be other things. Like if that, that win, they can have it. It's okay with me.
Absolutely. So. That's that again. Yeah. Having someone in your corner like that can provide you some perspective. You're like, okay, yeah, this is great. But at that time, had you already known that you were going to Utah? Had you committed already?
Yes. At that time, like I committed, I think maybe like November of my senior year. So it was like, just like, I think like it was still in volleyball season. So I already knew at that point, and I think, I can't remember if any of the assistants came and watched me like play in the provincial final and saw me lose. Maybe it was like a couple of games before that. I'm hoping that no one was there to see it. I don't remember.
So then so tell us, I always love hearing about the recruiting story. Like, why do you choose a play? So I guess tell us who else was recruiting you. Did you go for visits? Walk us through that.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of started being recruited probably grade 10, like more so. And, there were some like smaller schools like NDSU, UND. Honestly, I can't even remember which school it was. I think it was NDSU. And I remember going for a drive there just to go check out the campus with my mom and like actually like meet with the coaches. So I guess I could be more of like an unofficial visit.
Yeah.
And they offered me a scholarship like that day. And it was
like this when you were in the 10th grade? Like after your 10th grade year, or?
I think so. Yeah. I don't think I was in grade 11 yet. I hadn't gone on any of my other, I hadn't gone on any official visits or anything like that. And they offered me a scholarship and I just sat there, straight face, didn't say anything. I was like, okay. And they were just like, what? They thought I was going to be excited. They thought that was going to be my reaction. They're like, that was so weird. I was like, honestly, I don't know. I just feel like I have to keep it cool, keep it professional,
Yeah.
And sometimes I just like didn't really have like a lot of emotion back then. My mom was probably like, what the heck is this kid doing? But like she knew that was kind of my personality. But yeah, from that moment on, I was like, okay, like this is like pretty crazy. And obviously I stayed in contact with them. They were like, like great to be recruited by and all of that. But I wasn't going to make any type of like fast decision either. I knew that.
For sure.
I knew that, I needed to play in some AAU tournaments in the States. Hopefully make a national team and, get seen by more coaches that way. And that's how Utah found me, was through the national team program, Iowa State. And then also, I can't remember the name of the school. That's bad. Somewhere on the East Coast. So I took 3 official visits and it was kind of spread out: West Coast, Central, East Coast. Kind of wanted to see a little bit of everything. And all the programs were so different. But my final 2 were Iowa State and Utah. And it was a really tough choice. It was a really, really tough.
Why Utah?
I loved.
Like, what was the thing that like put it over the top? There's probably a few things, but like, what were they that kind
honestly,
of said,
it was just the feeling. I made so many pro con lists. I flipped coins. My family was getting so mad at me for not making a decision like on time or like quickly.
Really?
Because it was signing week. Okay. So whatever, everyone's signing their national letters of intent on Monday. I didn't even pick Utah till Wednesday. I was like, I was stressed and I was like, I'm not going to make a decision till I'm ready. Like I'm going to think it through. And both were Power 5 conferences. I love the teams, but just something about like being on the actual Utah visit, something felt like that was home. That's where I needed to be. So I think on paper, Iowa State seemed like the better choice, honestly. like just in like their caliber of play, like at that time, like the amount of support and like the fan base. They get like 9,000 fans a game. Like it's crazy. You know, they're in Ames, Iowa. Like everyone is all for their basketball program. And I loved everything about it. And that was the hardest thing, was honestly saying no to them, making that phone call. Like,
because you had to say no.
I don't want to go to your school. Like, and I got to call them on the phone, and I'm like 16 years old, and I'm like, sorry. Stressful.
So tell us a little bit about the actual visit itself. Like obviously they probably talk about academics and stuff. I don't know, like give us a quick walkthrough of like what a visit is like to both these schools.
Yeah, I mean, they wine and dine you on your visits. Okay. Like it is a fun time. It is a great time. And yeah, I mean, you learn about anything you want to in regards to like certain programs you're interested in. So I was like, okay, like maybe I'll learn a little bit about business or sports science. And, you know, they can take you to those buildings, introduce you to some people, you meet everyone on the team. At Utah, I got to do an individual workout, which was great, and play some pickup with the girls, which was also super fun. And it depends if you go on your visit, sometimes they'll pair you with other recruits, right? So at Utah, I had 2 other recruits there with me. And I think in Iowa, I might've just been by myself. You know, I went to a football game with both visits, which was fun. Like, you know, I think I went like to like laser tag and bowling on one. In Utah, I went like up into the mountains a little bit, right? And we did like a zip line. So it was like, whatever's the best they have to offer you or something fun, they're going to want to try to show you, you know, a good time. And you have your player hosts. So you just kind of get to meet the team, which I think is like the biggest indicator, because the players are not going to lie to you.
Yes.
A lot of things sound sweet on the phone talking to coaches sometimes.
Of course.
It's always good to get like the player point of view. But Utah also had 3 Canadians. Okay. When I went on my visit, and all 3 of those were still there my freshman year. So that made it feel like home. For sure. Yeah, I guess that totally does. There's something about having Canadians around that you're like, oh, okay, well, if they like it here, I mean, I probably will too. Exactly. I'm wondering if it was the other way around. Like if I had like, they had a bunch of Canadians, if you would have been like, I'm going there. Like, cause you know, you said it was like a feeling. You're like, I can't pinpoint it. Maybe that was a big draw. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, that's a good question, because at that time I would have been the first Canadian to ever go to Iowa. Which, you know, was something on the different end. Like I could be the first person to do something like that would be cool too. Yeah, for sure. So what do you remember about your first year at Utah? Do you remember anything about your first year? Yes, of course. I remember I flew down there by myself before classes started. And I wasn't there during the summer period because I was with the 19U national team. So the other freshmen were there during the summer, taking summer classes and doing summer workouts. So I kind of got there kind of late. So that was like a little bit stressful because they had already had time to adjust. And I just showed up at the end of August on a Friday, and we start school on Monday. So, you know, assistant coach picks me up. I get settled in my dorm. He's like, all right, I'll see you Sunday at the team meeting. I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to do all weekend? Like, I'm free to do whatever I want. Like, there's no one here telling me what to do. Like, what? There's no rules. Like, so that was kind of crazy for me, but I had a bit of experience like being away from home with the national team. I think, you know, like we had done like a month. I had done a month of being away from home when we were doing training camps and traveling the last couple summers. So that made it a little bit easier to like be on my own. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. You're just thrown into it. But, you know, my experiences with the national team made the transition for myself, I think the playing wise, a lot easier. And I just, you know, I slept a lot. Like my freshman year, I was tired. Like we were practicing a lot. Like I was tired. It's just like a different level of intensity to sustain for so long compared to high school. So I was asleep at like 10:30 every night. Like I was knocked out, and I'm like, wow, now I'm up late all the time. I was asleep. And yeah, I think my freshman year was great. I had the opportunity to play a lot, which was not expected. We had, you know, the starting post tear ACL, unfortunately, in the summertime. So I was expecting to play behind her and learn a ton and kind of absorb that. And then it's like, okay, there's a ton of minutes up for grab.
Yeah.
You got to go take them. And it kind of gave me the luxury of like playing through mistakes a little bit more than I think sometimes freshmen get.
For sure.
Sometimes you're going to get pulled when you're making those mistakes, but thankfully I was able to like get playing time and like learn through playing, which is a lot more fun than just learning in practice and watching.
Yes, 100%. Especially if like you have the leash to do it, like the coaches and like you said, pulling it. You're like, I guess I'm going to get these 20 minutes no matter what. So yeah. You have that little bit of liberty. So obviously you went on to do a lot more like than your freshman year. What are some of the, like your kind of standout memories of your time there?
Ooh, that's another
It's a tough one. These ones are always hard. People are like, I don't know. Like there's so many.
Yeah, I mean, we had great trips. We had some, great wins, bad losses. One of my favorite, I got a couple favorite, like good wins. Like my freshman year, we beat Utah. We were down in BYU. Utah-BYU rivalry is super big. So we beat them in overtime. And that was my first experience playing in like a real rivalry game.
Yeah.
And I actually, got to be a part of it, got to be like on the court for quite a bit of it. But I think I fouled out with like a couple minutes left in regulation. And then I was just on the bench and I got to watch like Michelle Plouffe, like amazing Canadian player, just go off in overtime and like win. And like, that was just like, we're, throwing water in the locker room. And it was just like a super fun game to be a part of, and kind of my first like college game experience that like really stuck with me. Other than that, there's other games, where it's like, hey, we had a good win. We squeaked out a good win. But I think like senior weekend for me was like super amazing to have all my family there to see me. My mom and my dad had come a couple times like throughout my career each. But my sisters had never seen me play live in college. My niece got to come. So, my stepdad, my stepmom, and like that just meant a lot to have everybody there. And I played great and we won both games. And, sometimes you don't get good matchups for senior weekend. Your last game's at home. You're playing ranked teams. You're playing really difficult teams. But, like we played, Washington State, and they were good. And then we got like 2 like good wins against them. And yeah, it was just like such a good feeling to have that moment like in my college career. And like, that's something that I'll definitely always remember.
For sure. Yeah. Having your family and friends who've kind of been there with you the entire time, sharing those, I guess, the last moments that you've been spending all this time in one place, all the energy, all the effort, and now they're there to kind of like send you off is for sure. That's super cool. What was it? Obviously I'm guessing it was a very emotional, happy tears and like one of those types of weekends. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like I didn't know if I was going to cry or not, but when they were like calling your name out, and we did it. We did it after. Did we do it after the game or before the game? I think we also did a presentation like after the game as well. Or like, when you come out on the court, they have your, your picture with your jersey, you walk out with your family. And I was like, trying not to cry. Cause I was there for 5 years and I lived there and it felt like home at that point, and just a lot of memories, and sad to go from seeing, your best friends, your teammates every day to now we're all over the world. So it's crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I miss them. Like college, like the best thing I took away from it was, the people I met and my teammates in college who are still my best friends today. For sure.
That's what I love about sport, any sport, obviously basketball in this sense. It's like, you can say that, right? It's like my friends and my network come from this, which is super cool. You had mentioned that you played 5 years. Now you had an injury, right? Snuggled in there. What was what was it? Briefly, I just want to kind of get an idea. Was that after second year? When was it?
It was after my freshman year.
After your freshman. Okay.
It was like fall. It was like end of September. I tore my ACL. And so that sucks because like I had a good freshman season and I felt like really poised to have like a great like sophomore season. At that point, I was feeling the best I ever had. And so that obviously sucks because it took me out for a full season.
Any positive takeaways from being out for the full season? I mean, it's you tear your ACL. It's like, hey, tell us about the positives. But I mean, there must have been some that you can pull from there, or was it just like a tough year?
It was really, really tough for me mentally because, it was hard to be around basketball when I couldn't play because I just like loved it. But it did, it reinforced the fact that like I really, really, really loved this game. And I was like determined to get back. And I knew that like, you know, if I was like, oh, whatever, I don't care, then maybe I wasn't in the right spot, or I wasn't, you know, doing what I was supposed to do. But like I missed it so much that reiterated to me, like, yes, I need to come back. I want to do this, and lit that fire in me that like, when I come back, nobody's going to stop me. And I think I had like my best season, like statistically, in my redshirt sophomore year, like the season after I came back, because I was just a woman on a mission. I was like, no one's stopping me. Like I have been out for so long. Like I need this.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So you obviously, we played 5 years. At what point did you know that you were going to, or that you wanted to play professionally?
When I was in grade 9.
Yeah. Okay. So you knew before. You're like, look, I'm playing pro.
Yeah.
So then what was that process like? You know, you're finishing up your last year. Had you already signed a contract before you finished? Like, talk about the timing of it. How'd you get on a team? Did you sign an agent? Like, what was that process like?
Yeah, that was also kind of stressful. But towards the end of my senior year, I had agents starting to reach out to me. Okay, whether it was like mostly through like social media, maybe like, I don't know how they got my email. I don't know if it was email, probably just mostly social media. Okay. And they're talking to you. And I was like, hey, like I'm focusing on the season. Thank you for reaching out. Like, I'm gonna get back to you after our season's over. Because at that time, like that was the rules too. Like you're not supposed to talk to agents before your eligibility's up. And now I think that's potentially changed. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I was like, I'm just gonna focus on finishing my season to the best of my abilities. And then after season ended, I took, you know, about a week off. And then I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. I got to sign an agent ASAP. Because the Final Four weekends for like NCAA basketball is a really big like event and meeting ground for, you know, coaches, agents, even like WNBA coaches. So all the agents are going to be there. They're going to be able to network. They're going to be able to drop your name and kind of get a feel, you know, even from like WNBA coaches, what they're kind of thinking about you, and start like working on your behalf. So I was like, okay, I need to sign an agent, like hopefully before then, or like around that time. So, you know, I had phone calls with a bunch of them, FaceTimed. I think maybe like some agents were of other players I knew, like other Canadian players or like past teammates. But yeah, this is my agent, and they could kind of like vouch for them a little bit. And I think that's the best way to probably like gauge things, is ask other players. And I've had other players ask me over the years, like, hey, what do you think about this agency? I'm like, well, you know, I'm signed with them right now. So yes, I like them, and they're working well for me. So yeah, I signed my agent like during that Final Four weekend. And I just kind of went off of, again, like a gut feeling. I don't know. I guess that's my kind of thing. I was like, I feel like this person's going to care about me. You know, they didn't have like a too overwhelming client list where I feel like I'd fall at the bottom of the food chain, but it wasn't like such a small industry where I didn't feel like they had connections to get me to a good place that I wanted to go. So I kind of go for that happy medium at that point. And then from then on, I had to sign a contract with that agent. And from there, she was just going to work and try to find me like a training camp contract in the WNBA. And that was kind of the goal. So after the WNBA draft, you know, they draft 36 players. And from then there was a couple interests from, you know, a couple different teams. I ended up signing a training camp contract with the Storm.
That's Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Just for people to know, Seattle Storm. Okay. And then
what
was
Storm,
that like?
Yeah.
The Storm. Like people are like, wait. So what was it like? Yeah. So did you like training camp? You go out to training camp?
Yeah. So that was like end of the month. Yeah. It was.
How long you there for? Yeah. Like, I mean, the Storm, I don't remember. I mean, the Storm traditionally have been fairly good. I don't know how were they super good then as well? I don't remember.
Yeah. They ended up winning the championship that season, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah.
So I went in at the end of April. So after I found out that I had signed with them, I had a couple of weeks to get ready. I'm like, all right. So I just like brought a couple of suitcases with me, left everything else in my apartment. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And I knew going in that, like, you know, I couldn't just be good. I'd have to be like over and above exceptionally and amazing to be able to take a draft, like a rookie that was drafted, take their spot or take somebody else's spot. And I loved it. I thought it was amazing. Like just like playing against Brianna Stewart in practice, like she's guarding me. And like, I will never forget the moment where I like took a dribble and a pull up and I scored. And I was like, this is going to be like this is going to be a core memory for me that time I scored. Or like Sue Bird's coming up to me in practice and talking to me about, hey, like maybe try this or think about it in this way and trying to explain a concept to me. And everyone was like super welcoming and it was just like super fun. And I felt like that first taste of being a pro was just amazing. And I was like, this is really about to be my job. Like I go to practice and then I go home and, I go back to the hotel, I get food, I can do whatever I want. And like, this just seems great. Seems like I'm living the life. But I was only there for about a week, did one preseason game, did not see the floor. And that was about it. And they're like, like it wasn't at the level that they wanted and said, get some experience like playing overseas in Europe and, hopefully improve and get to that level. Yeah. So that was awesome. And then throughout the summer, I kept the same agent and I ended up signing to go play in Poland. So, she did all the work on my behalf and would send me, different teams, also asked for my opinion. But at that point I was a rookie. I had no idea what I was looking for, what I wanted. So she just kind of was like, here's an offer. This is what the money is. This is where it is. I was like, okay, sure. Where do I sign? Yeah. So besides your agent, did you have anyone else advising you? Like, did you reach out to any other like past teammates being like, hey, like, or is it just you and the agent and you just kind of like listen to what they said? Yeah. At that point, it was just me and my agent. And I think now that I'm older, I know so many more people playing overseas and it's, kind of its own little community. And you can connect with people on what they think of certain clubs, if they've played in certain clubs, certain countries, and kind of what their opinion on it is. And I have players, that like other people will be like, hey, yeah, you can message Emily, and they'll message me, be like, hey, I told this player to message you about your club from last year because they're interested in her. I'm like, okay, I can give you some inside information about how I thought the club treated me. And, For sure. Whether or not I think you should go, like, is it a good fit or not? So you just learn to talk to people. But when you're a rookie, I don't think that yet, which kind of sucks because I feel like there should be more of a community from then. And I feel like it could maybe save or help some people. Yeah, just having that network. I mean, I would imagine, I don't know, who knows now. It's not like it was that long ago, but I think maybe people are more in tune to like reach out through social media. I don't know. I have no idea, but I agree with you. Like that mentorship piece or like those elements of just passing on a little bit of knowledge can go a long way in helping people. Right. And just not even just feel like they're not alone. Like, never mind that. Cause my next question was going to be, what was your first year like? Like you're playing in Poland. You're like, okay, like I'm here. Like it's nothing like, in a different country and there's no, you're not on campus. Like it must've been a pretty big shock. Yeah, it was a hot mess. Okay. I mean, at least in college, you get to do an official visit. Yep. They're usually close to your time zone. They speak, their first language is English. And so you sign a contract sight unseen. Like, I don't know where I'm living. I don't know not a single person that lives in this country. Don't know anybody. I'm just about to be picked up at the airport by a random person. Okay, great. Let's do this. Do it. Yeah. You don't know what this, like, I mean, you can talk to the coach beforehand. You don't know if he's crazy, if he's going to make you practice, like it can be a good and it can be bad. And, I feel for people who have like negative first experiences overseas, because it can really like make you not enjoy the process and not enjoy it and make you want to stop playing overseas. And sometimes you get lucky in a good situation. I don't think I got that lucky. I ended up, having a coach, and we were practicing 4 hours a day, doing a lot of running. 4 hours a day? Like 2 hours in the morning. Okay. No, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. That's insane. And, I did some exploring in Poland. Like I enjoyed it, started to get to know my teammates, but at the same time, also like there was a big language barrier with some of my teammates. And I was like, how am I supposed to communicate with you on the fly in the game when you don't know what I'm saying? I've never faced anything like this before. And I ended up breaking the cartilage under my kneecap. And I was like, all right, it's time to go home.
Yeah. So like how many months of the season did you play?
I was there for 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah. So not really that long.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is something different.
So did you think like, do I want to do this? Like it must have crossed your mind at some point. Like, do I want to go play again? Like, was there any doubt in your mind that you wanted to continue to do this? I guess was the question.
Yeah, I was a lot stressed. I was, stressed about like how I was going to feel like coming back, like with my knees. Cause like, I was like, I don't want to play in pain. And at that point I was like, not enjoying it because I was playing in pain. I was like, I need to do whatever I can to play pain free, like for the longevity of my career. If I want to make this a career, like I, want to play for 5-10 years down the road, like I got to take that seriously. So I took a lot of time when I came home after surgery to just like build myself from the bottom up. And I missed the game so much during that time that I knew again that I wanted to return. And that's kind of like the key deciding factor for me is like, yeah, I miss it. Yeah. I know I want to go back to it. I miss that feeling of competing. Yeah. So I'm going to do it.
Very similar to like after your first year in college. You're like, oh, it was literally like, you played, 100%. You get hurt and you're like, no, I still want to do this. You still have that fire, like the hunger.
Exactly. And even in the off season, I can still tell, if I take the summer off from playing, I'm just kind of like itching to like feel that competitiveness and like competing, because I don't think there's any other feeling like it. Like I haven't come across anything in a different type of career for myself yet that like gives me that same like adrenaline and energy that like competing does. So I know I'm still going for it. I'm still returning to play basketball. Like I need to get back to overseas. I gotta go. I gotta keep playing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the obvious question here is what's you've been in Greece for 2 years now. So I'm just going to assume it's Greece, but I have to ask you, what is your favorite country that you've played in so far?
Yeah. I mean, Greece is great. I really do love it, but I really liked Mexico this summer too. Both of them were amazing.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Cause you like, okay. So I didn't understand this. So when you went to go play there, I was like, they're having leagues happening now. So what was that? Was it a special tournament? Like I was so confused.
Yeah. So this was a summer league kind of in Mexico. And besides this summer league, like Australia always does a summer league that sometimes foreigners really like to go and play in. Yeah. And this league in Mexico has been around for the men. The men kind of do, I guess 2 leagues in Mexico. They do like the Ciba Copa, which is what they were doing in the summertime. And then they do like the NLPB, I don't know, BP, something like that. Okay. So that they kind of do that in more of a October to this time of year. I don't know. They got 2 leagues in Mexico for the men and they decided to make one for the women. So this is the first year that they had like the LNPB for the women. Yeah. And my agent presented the offer to join a team for playoffs. Okay. So they had started their season in like April and it went until July. And there was a team that was starting playoffs and they really wanted to push to win the championship. And I thought it was a great league because it was completely based off the men's model. So, you're playing in the same gym, you're getting the same facility, same resources, same everything. And so it was run like very professional and the fans were fantastic. The people were super nice. The food was great. So similar to Greece, like, like I could compare in that way that the people were great. The food was great. The atmosphere was great. So that's why I really enjoyed Mexico, and that league is going to continue to grow. I think there was 8 teams this past summer, but I think within the next few years, like all of the men's teams in the league as well will add like a women's team.
Got it.
So it's gonna continue to grow, and I think do really well. Like it was amazing. I didn't quite know what to expect, a first year league, like, and I saw even when I was at home before I went, like so many people signing and going to this league. I was like, what's going on? Why is everyone going to Mexico? Yeah. And I was oh, there's some good money and fun to be had in Mexico.
Yeah. So do you see yourself potentially playing again? I mean, jumping on a team, or would you consider making a full commitment, or do you need that downtime to like reset your body? Because it would be pretty much a straight jump, right? Like you'd go from one league to the next. Are you considering it, or?
Of course I'm considering it, but it's so difficult. Because of, just like playing year round and whether or not, I want to break and just have an actual off season. So it's very difficult at this point to, decide what I'm going to do. And there's always pluses and minuses to both of them.
Of course.
But, it's going to be a tough decision for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's another option. I mean, again, like that's one of those things. It's like you have the ability to make a decision, right? Which is, I mean, sometimes it can be challenging, but it's still nice to have. It's one of those. But so we had mentioned very briefly, obviously you mentioned the cadet team. In your intro, I mentioned most recently you played in the Pan American Games, playing for the national team. Like that's, I mean, in itself an honor, right? Like you're part of that athlete pool. You're part of the people that they call on. Hey, we're having training camp, come out. Hey, you're going to play on this team. Can you maybe just give a brief overview of your participation with the national team? I know you played cadet and you played this. Is there any other things in between there? And then tell us a little bit about the Pan Am Games, because I'm kind of curious. Because I was in, where was it?
Peru.
In Peru.
It was in Lima.
Lima, yeah. So that must have been pretty cool. But so where have you played, I guess? What teams have you played for with Canada? We'll start with that. Do you remember? It's like cadet for sure. That was like when you were like 16 though, right? Cadet?
Yeah. So I did 2012 Worlds with the 17 under team cadet.
Okay.
I did 2013 Worlds with the 19 under team. Okay. And I think that was it for the younger age groups. And then from then, it was more development team stuff. So we did, games in Taiwan in 2014, 2015, I was injured. 2016, I did my first stint with the senior team. So I did exhibition games with them in France and Spain, training camp. And then I also did development games in the Czech Republic. That was a crazy summer. 2017, I didn't play with the team. Before my senior year, I focused on college and we did our foreign trip with Utah to Italy. So I was like, I can't miss that. Yep. 2018, I did some exhibition games in China and Japan. 2019 was the Pan American Games. 2020 didn't do anything because of COVID. And then last November I was at training camp. And then this past November I was at training camp. So that kind of summarizes my time with the team. And it's kind of been up and down. There's been times where I felt like I'm so close. And there's times where I feel like they're never going to call me back again. And I just don't know why. I'm like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should give up the dream of playing with the national team. Maybe I should just focus on overseas and I should just schedule my off season and my summer the way I want it, because, I never know what the schedule is going to be. And sometimes it's last minute and do I keep my schedule wide open? And so it's always stressful, and because I feel like it's something I want so badly.
Exactly.
So,
that's
kind of been hard to deal with. Kind of feels like up and down, but, I'm never going to say no. I'm never going to say no to the national team. It's that's kind of a big goal I have for my career is to, crack the senior team roster and play in a major competition with them. And, that experience in Lima in 2019 was, it was great. It was the first time I'd been at a multi-sport event where you're staying in an athlete village and, there's tons of different countries and tons of different athletes, not just basketball. So that was a super cool thing to be a part of and to compete. But hopefully I can use that experience if I'm in, a situation again where I'm at a multi-sport competition, because there can be a lot of distractions. There's a lot going on. There's so much to see and do in an athlete village, that type of thing. It's obviously not on the crazy level of an Olympics or anything like that, but still I think it was a good starter point to be able to experience athlete village life, because it can be hard to manage that and then still try to play at the highest level.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm always thankful for any opportunity to train with a national team. And that's my end goal basically. So I'm going to try to keep improving and playing until I know I've exhausted any and every effort to get there.
Yeah. So then I know like they typically have like a pool of athletes that they like call on for different events. So like do you know how many athletes are in the pool?
That's a good question. Maybe like 25, like,
Okay.
I mean, last November, I trained with the team, and there's a new coach, right? With the senior women's team. He hasn't even been there for a year, Victor. So that change, like, obviously the new coach brings a lot of change. So he kind of spent the summer, getting an opportunity to basically evaluate and train with almost every athlete. And so I got an opportunity to meet him and train with him this past November. So, they have elite high school athletes, that they invent kind of like the next gen, they want to see how they're doing. They got the college players, and you've got, professional players kind of like me that are like somewhere in the middle. And then you have like, the top players of the national team. And there's maybe 5 or 6 that's kind of like, they know their spot is guaranteed.
Yes.
They've proven it. They've built it. Like, they are key members of the squad, and deservedly so, are pretty much they feel confident in the fact that they're going to be chosen for any major world event. But other than that, like, it's a dogfight for the other half of the team, and you never know.
Sure.
And having a new coach makes me excited, because it's just, a different person with different perspectives, and maybe they'll see something in my game that a previous coach didn't, or they'll see me fit in a different way. And it's not always going to be the 12 best players. You have to put together a team, right? You have to put together a team. There's 3 or 4 spots for a post. Okay. So if we had if the best 12 players in Canada were all posts, well, guess what? They're not all going to make the team.
Exactly.
Same thing with guards. So, it's exciting to always like have a chance. That's all I can ask for, is just an opportunity to go to a camp. So I didn't get to go to any camps this past summer leading up to Worlds, and I was like, I at least want an opportunity. And that's all I can ask for, just to have time with the coaches and just practice and play with the team. So I'm happy I got that in November, and it's kind of like, now I got to take the next step forwards, little steps by little, to try to get there.
Yeah, for sure. How much of like again, I don't know if you'd even know this, but like, if you're you're on the radar, they know, okay, Emily's here. Do they, outside of just pulling up stats, like, do they send anyone to watch or like keep tabs? Or is mostly like, hey, she's playing in a good enough league, obviously she's come up before, we're just going to keep inviting her out, and then they only do the evaluation like at the camps?
They definitely do both. They have like a great like video guy. He's, going to ask for access to like your game film throughout the season. Where can he find the games? Where can he find the film? So they're constantly evaluating that type of stuff. When I was in college, they did have, like some members of the program, travel around a little bit and watch games and things like that. But at the professional level, I don't know how often they're doing that, traveling. Yeah. They're pretty much all based like in Toronto now, all of the staff. They're always actively working on that, looking at game film and stuff like that. But with their different concepts, right, for the game, how they want to play, it's always great to get people together to practice. And even though we didn't have any games in November, and there's going to be no games in February, they're still using those opportunities to bring athletes together to train and be with each other. Whereas, European national teams, we had the national team break for them to play their Eurobasket qualifiers in November and February. Canada doesn't, right? We don't follow that same format with the FIBA Americas, but the break's there. So like, I'm happy. And I think it's great that they take advantage of it to get the athletes together and just continue to work on the concepts.
For sure. So what's your off season look like? And maybe from like a big picture philosophy standpoint, right? You don't have to like, hey, I do this, but like, rest times, training, mindset, like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've had a normal off season. This last summer was different with going to Mexico for a month. So that was the first time I kind of really played a lot in the off season. I've done, Team Canada stuff in the off season, and training and stuff like that. But I do enjoy like taking time away from the game completely. And I know I have teammates, they're like, no, I have to be in the gym. Like I'm still in the gym all summer, every single day. And I'm like, I don't want that. I kind of want to miss the game a little bit so that I have that energy and like excited mindset, because after 8 months of every single day, sometimes you're like, wow, I don't want to go to practice today, but I have to because it's my job. And I don't want that to continue. I don't want to get burnt out. So I give myself at least a month off from like touching a basketball, maybe 2 months. And in that time, I'm just like, I'm doing any type of physio stuff, anything that's been nagging me during the season. I'm doing lifting about 3 times a week with Sherwin and, my own, usually like low impact cardio stuff. So I'll do that for a couple months before I start ramping it up and doing more basketball and more basketball specific, like conditioning.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's an interesting point you bring up though. Like for you need to kind of step away. I think people, they get obsessed over stuff, but and again, it obviously depends on personality type and stuff like that. But there's been research on this for these types of things where it's like sometimes just like stopping completely and just doing other things will actually give you the thing that you're actually looking for when you're going obsessive in the gym, constantly never taking a break. And again, I know that's more of a psychological thing for those people, but as far as actually making you better or like putting you in a position to succeed long term, it makes sense, right? And that time's going to vary from person to person, but you need to step away to give your mind, your body, like, to develop new routines and like kind of just like feel good. And I think some people struggle with that. Doesn't seem like you struggle with that at all. The fact that you can step away. You said 2 months. Even I was like 2 months. I'm like, really?
I know. It is hard. Like, and you just think of like great athletes, and it's always about how they're so obsessed and how much work they put in. Like, shout out Kobe, rest in peace, Kobe. But like, he is the definition of like, he's waking up at 4 a.m. working out, coming back home, working out again at 10, working out again at 4. And it's hard to not want to follow that model because you see how successful that person is. For sure. But for me, it's taken time to trust in it and not stress about, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Am I doing enough? Because that'll just drive you crazy. And I've just had to trust in that, like, there's different paths to the same destination. And this is mine. And this is what works for me. And I can end up at the same place as this person, but it's going to look different for me because that's what I need.
For sure. Now, if you told me that you're like, not only do I don't touch a ball, I don't do anything, I'd be like, okay. But no, like you're still moving, you're doing stuff, like, like you're still, being active and training and fixing stuff. And I think that's the thing. It's like you want to reboot and get ready for your season. Right. So, okay. We're coming sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say it gives me an opportunity to try different things. Like,
there you go.
Do a spin class, that's fun. That brings me joy. I can try different fitness classes. I can do yoga and find time to do things that I don't get to do when I have to go to practice every day and, be at my absolute best for games.
100%. No, that's a great point too, right? It's just like being able to, cause like it's funny. I remember telling people, it's kind of an aside, but it's kind of to the point you're making. People always would say like, oh, like you must be really good at sports, or like you're a good athlete, like speaking about me. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of a basketball player. And it's only now in later life that I've started to like move and just do stuff, just whatever, right? Like, oh, I just want to like move my body, but I don't play basketball anymore. But that's the kind of to the point you're saying here is like, I can do other things. Like I get to just like move my body and like feel good about it and like try new things. And like, I think that goes a long way. And I think that likely helps you in basketball because like, you kind of get so stuck in these like patterns, like I just do this, I do this. And like, you almost get like blinders on, from a movement standpoint, but also just like maybe what your body's capable of. And just, so I think that type of practices, I find it now, and I didn't have this perspective then. So it's great that you have it now, but I think it's invaluable. Like it's, having that wider range of like how your body moves and what you can do and still take your discipline it's super important to you still, right? It's still your job. You're still a high level player, but you don't have to be doing it all the time. I think that's a nice balanced mindset to take to things. We're going to wrap quick, but I have 3 questions for you before we get off this thing. So these ones just like, I'm just going to ask you a question, whatever comes to mind, just spit it out. Most memorable basketball story.
Most memorable basketball.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I know some people have it. And others are like, I
don't know. Okay. Easy for me. Winning a championship this past year in Mexico.
There you go.
Yeah. Amazing experience.
What specifically about it was special to you? Obviously you're winning a championship, but
it was
close game, atmosphere, all of the
above.
It
was game 7. We were playing on their court in a game 7 in front of 10,000 people. I couldn't even hear myself think.
Wow.
And it was crazy. Yeah. Just the feeling. Yeah. When the buzzer sounds and then you're standing there with your little trophy and the confetti starts falling. And I never had that confetti experience until we had our section or conference finals in Mexico. Okay. So when we made it to, after we won the semis, I guess it's kind of like Western and Eastern Conference finals in the NBA. Okay. I'll compare it to that. So we won our South Zone and they shot off confetti and I wasn't expecting and you're like, what? So that was super memorable. But then the feeling of winning a championship and cutting a net. I had never cut a net before in my life. So that was my first experience cutting a net. And when the confetti came again, I was expecting it, but it was still just as fun.
Okay. Next question I have here. Oh, and sounds like you're going to be going back to Mexico just based off what you just told me. It's hard. You're a feeling person and you're like, it just felt so good. I'm like, okay, she's going back. You're going to be like, listen, I need the off season, but when that playoff run starts, you hit me up.
Right. That's a good deal. Sounds like a good deal to me. Only playoffs, exactly. Best gig ever.
Exactly. Right. Okay. So funniest basketball story. And this can be off the court. It can be something happened on the bus, on the plane, the airplane. It doesn't really matter. Just related to basketball in the locker room.
Right, man. There's been so many. Oh my gosh.
I know. First one that comes to mind, right? that you can say on air, obviously. Some people have said, "Oh, I got some, but I can't tell those on air." I'm like, okay, don't say those.
I cannot tell those ones. Oh man, I'm trying to think of a recent one. Then that'll be good. Funny basketball memory. I don't know which one sticks to my mind first. Maybe I should do college. College is a good one. Okay, so we always do a team retreat every year in college. We always had to do a silly little dance off. So my senior year, we have 4 people and there's 4 groups of 4. Okay. I don't think there was a theme. You just do a dance off of whatever you want. So me and my teammates in my group, we decide we're each going to impersonate one of the coaches and dress up like them. Goodness. So we do a dance. But it was so perfect. We got one person being one of the assistants wearing the outfit she always wears. Yeah. We have one that's a head coach with the same color hair, ponytail, and holding babies because our coach had just had some, our coach's wife had some kids. Then we have another assistant and just the mannerisms were on point. And of course, I'm the last person left. I'm the male assistant who is the post coach who also happens to be short. So I come in with a fake beard and mustache, walking on my knees. And everyone's losing their mind. We're in full character. I had a wig, a mustache, a beard, literally pretending to be
wow.
the coaching staff. And they thought it was hilarious. And we did a little dance. I don't even know what the dance or the song was, but that was hilarious because we just nailed it to a T. And I have a picture somewhere of me standing beside my assistant. I'm it's just uncanny. It was hilarious.
Is this something that you guys, was it a pre, before the start of the season type thing or middle of the season, end of the season?
It's usually, before, right. I guess when official practices are starting. So
okay. So it's kind of that kickoff, yeah. That's too good.
It was super funny. Everyone thought it was hilarious. And we had thought about it just in the week leading up to it and pulled it off perfectly.
That's awesome. Was it all seniors? Before you were all seniors?
No, we had a mix. We had a couple seniors and then, a freshman and a junior. So it was a good mix. And, the coach thought it was hilarious.
This is the type of, that's the thing though, but this is the type of thing that and this is why, when you play a sport, basketball in this case, you get so, and you said, hey, these are some of my friends, these are homies, I can hit them up anytime. When you do those types of things and have those types of experiences, it's it just builds such a camaraderie, right? And these long, you can always talk about that thing, right? And super cool. All right, last question before we get off thing. I always like to leave with advice, being that there's probably people that I'm sure there's people who want to do what you're doing, have done what you're doing. So I always like frame it like this. So imagine, remember, I don't know if they did it with you when at your age, but they have the team Toba Day, for example, right? And they'll everyone's sitting there and they'll bring in like a speaker or something. So imagine you're now there. You're like, yeah, I'm here. Like, yeah, we have Emily. And then you talk about your journey, blah, blah, blah. And then like they're asking questions and they're like, hey, like, I want to do what you're doing. And now you're there and you have they're all in front of you waiting for you. And they like look up to you. So what advice would you give them? And they say, hey, I want to play NCAA. I want to play pro. What advice can you give me right now that's going to set me down the right path? What would you say?
Woo! I think I would probably I would give them two pieces, things that I think have really helped me. The first one would be like about confidence.
Okay.
And that you really need to work to, build up your confidence. And to me, I think confidence is kind of like a three-part thing. Mm-hmm. Like it comes from the work that you put in. You're going to be confident because of everything you've done to prepare yourself. Mm-hmm. I think it comes from also what you say to yourself, how you speak to yourself and what you say to yourself. Mm-hmm. And I also think it has to do with your environment and as much as you want to try to remain as confident as you can just by yourself, like having someone believe in you and lift you up can have a big impact as well. So yeah, you need to find a place and get to a place where you can hopefully have all three. And if not all three, at least two of them that will help you, stay at a good level. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yeah, so I think confidence is a big piece, and I've seen my own confidence fluctuate so much, but I know that when my confidence is good, that I'm the best player I've ever been. Absolutely. And like no one can come close. Like my confidence is high. I'm like, there's no way. I'm the best. Like
yeah.
Not even in a cocky way, but like I know all those three things are like flowing. They're at max capacity, and everything just feels right.
Yeah.
So do everything you can to get yourself to that state of equilibrium.
Yeah.
And the second piece would be to, find more enjoyment along the journey and the mundane of things. Mm-hmm. The end result only feels good because of everything you went through to get there.
True.
So if you're always outcome based and outcome focused, you miss all the good things along the way, and you're just going to stress yourself out so much more.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the whole trust the process or believe in the process or enjoy the process, like that whole thing, which obviously I agree with so much. That's just great advice. I think I love how you broke down the confidence, though. You said confidence, but then you actually gave three things you can focus on within that. I have never heard anyone really. It all made sense, but just the way that you broke it down was perfect. So I appreciate that. I think we're gonna wrap there. I mean, I don't know, what time is it for you right now?
5:20.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I was gonna say it's not even that late. For some reason, I'm like, oh, it's super late. Yeah, I forget it's our morning here. So, do you have practice tonight?
I'm gonna go do a lift. So that's
nice.
No practice.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. It's been great. I mean, I've interviewed you on kind of a different angle, but it was just kind of great to kind of walk through the whole basketball story and just hear everything. And if for some reason I'm still doing interviews in like 5 years or 6 years or something like that, I'm sure I'll interview you again. Like, I don't know if it's going to be for this or whatever, but you still have, I say that just to say that you have a lot of career left, a lot more trips to Mexico to jump on playoff teams and all that good stuff. But I do appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thanks so much, Darcy. You'll be the one I call when I'm, retiring and I need a full recap of my career. You got to be the one.
There we go. I accept now. Even if I'm not doing interviews, great. I accept.
We'll do a sit down interview.
There we go. Yes, in person. I don't know if those things will ever come
professional.
Back,
yeah.
Exactly. All right, Kate, we'll take care. Enjoy the lift and enjoy Greece. Enjoy the beaches. I know everyone in Manitoba was freezing. I'm not in Manitoba right now, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows that. I'm also not freezing. So anyways, take care and all the best.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All right. Okay. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share this series, and reach out to us with your comments on the show. Thanks again for joining us.